Ladies and gentlemen, today's recipe is this gorgeous bird right here. This is a new recipe I've developed. Basically, it's a gorgeous roast hen with a red glaze that I did, and you're gonna have to watch the recipe to find out how to make that delicious, sweet, tangy red glaze. Good morning. Today I will be making a brand new recipe. This is a recipe that I decided to come up with recently. I was inspired by the people that were watching my orange duck recipe. I've had a lot of people in the last few months watching that, asking questions about it in the comments, and it has done really rather well this year. For a recipe that I really never thought was going to get many views, my orange duck has done very well, so I'm proud of it. I wanted to do a new recipe, something that was inspired by orange duck, but not quite the same thing. We're not using oranges in this. We're going to be using some Texas citrus fruit, and you're going to find out why I call this a Texas Red Hen. It's got a very special glaze that goes on at the end, and that's what we're going to get busy making in a moment while we go ahead and roast up that beautiful hen. Today I'm using Cornish hens, and Cornish hens are just perfect for this. You can do it with a larger roasting chicken if you would like, but I like the intimacy of a Cornish hen. It gives you a full bird. You get the dark meat, the white meat, you get everything, and it's all your own bird. And I think that's a really neat thing to do on the plate. So folks, let me show you this fantastic recipe I've come up with. This is Texas Red Hen. Come on, let's get at it. Ladies and gentlemen, the ingredients we're using today are going to be Cornish hens. You can cook as many as you need, and I recommend one per person. These come in various sizes, 16 ounce, 22 ounce. Today I'm preparing a 22 ounce. The 16 ounce is really nice for those that want a little smaller portion or for kids. And they can cook in the same oven. You simply put one group in a little different time than the other. Also, we'll be using some Cointreau, or you can use Grand Marnier. You don't have to use this, but I'm going to recommend it because the richness and the full bodiness that it gives to this particular glaze. It's wonderful. Also, I have a 1/4 cup of sugar here. This is cane sugar. I'm using some salt, olive oil, and also back here, that is Texas Ruby Red grapefruit juice, ladies and gentlemen. The Texas Ruby Red is the sweetest grapefruit you'll ever eat, and it is a special, special treat. That's what we're making this with today, and you're going to be surprised. It is good. Those are our ingredients. You're also going to need a pan to roast this on. I'm simply using a fry pan with an inverted rack on it. That's as simple as it gets. It'll lift that bird up, and it's perfect for one bird. Now, as I always do when I'm cooking, I get all of my ingredients ready. Now, I need to pour up just a 1/4 cup of this. There we go. That's just a couple of ounces. That gives it a very robust, delicious flavor. Now I want to combine all of my ingredients in this saucepan, bring it to a boil, and cook it down until we reduce this down to about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup total volume. So we're going to turn all of this into a syrup. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it needs to be said, when you're doing a glaze like this and you're doing a reduction, that's what this is. This is a reduction of fruit juice. This is a time-consuming affair, and it's all about reducing this by removing water. The broader the surface of the bottom of the pan, the faster this process will go. So remember that if you want to speed this up, use a larger diameter pan, and if you're using a larger amount, that is a very, very smart thing to do. I'll go ahead and get my sugar mixed in here. There we are. This is one of my favorite sipping liqueurs. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're concerned about alcohol content or anything like that, here's the truth. Alcohol boils at 173 degrees Fahrenheit. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, which means the very first steam that comes out of this pot is actually going to be this alcohol. Any additional alcohol that's in there will certainly all steam out because of the amount of moisture we're taking out, which is the vast majority of it. Now I'm going to put this with a high heat until it comes to a boil. Once it really starts boiling, and it's kind of hard to see because with all this sugar it resists boiling. Once it does start to boil, I'll reduce it to a medium high, and I'll continue at that temperature until my glaze is made. At this time, you'll also want to make sure that your oven is preheating at 350 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing this up in temperature now, and as soon as it starts to boil, I'll reduce the temperature to medium high and continue cooking until I've cooked off all of this excessive liquid. I want this down to about a half to 3/4 of a cup total volume. In other words, a syrup. It's time for us to prep our bird for roasting. If you've never done a trussed bird, well, today is your lucky day because you're going to learn how to do that. This is really simple. I want to show you A, how to keep moisture in the bird, B, how to truss the bird, and C, how to roast it the right way. Doing this is simple, okay? First thing I want to do is to prevent any moisture from coming out of my chicken. So the first thing I'll do is add a little olive oil. And it doesn't take a lot of this, you just need a little, and you want to make sure that his little drumettes are covered. It doesn't take a lot. Our wings have some on them. Flip that bird over, do both sides. So what this does, again, is just making sure that the meat remains very, very tender. So now that we have him all oiled up and beautiful, we need to truss it. Folks, when you're going to truss a chicken, it doesn't take much. It's simple cotton string, and they sell this at most grocery stores, right next to the other items for cooking turkeys and things like that. All right, so I'm going to take that 2-foot long piece of cotton string, tie it around one of the drums, okay? Then take it around the other drumstick, bring him in. Sometimes it'll pop loose, but just put it back around it. Don't worry. So, whoops, come on. So, just tie like tying your shoelace. Isn't that easy? That's all we have to do there. That'll keep itself tight just by its own compression. Now the string I want to go in between the breast and the leg, and then over the top of the wing, just like that. Isn't that neat? We'll do the same thing over here, between the leg and the breast, just like that, and over the top of the wing. Once you get it like that, simply flip your bird over, grab the two ends, bring them together, and tie them. Isn't that nice? Now what that does, folks, that has pulled his legs up and into the body cavity, so the lower part of the breast is protected from overcooking, and so are the legs, which are smaller than the breast overall. So this is done to give even cooking on your bird. I'll take this and we'll tie it into a knot, and then I'll simply use a knife and remove any excess string. There we go. Now, I have a fully trussed bird. Something I want to mention about this. These little wing tips will burn if they're left sticking up like that. You can do that. This is one way of presenting your bird, and that's okay. Nothing wrong. Or you can also take those wings and simply tuck them behind like so. Just turn them under. And what that does is it gives a little different presentation. As you can see, this is the presentation I like to use the most, and the one I think that's really the best overall display for a good looking bird. Next thing we're going to do is get this salted and down in the oven. To salt my bird, I just go ahead and place it on the same rack that I'm going to be cooking on, but I turn it upside down. Hit it with a little bit of salt on the bottom. If I want, I can rotate them to the side, hit the sides a little bit. I usually don't bother that much, but you can if you want. And then set him right side up where he's going to be while cooking. And just hit the top with a little more salt, just lightly. ladies and gentlemen, he's ready to roast. Now, if you'll notice the way I'm doing this, I'm using an oven-safe pan. This is just a plain fry pan, riveted handle, steel handle, and these are commercial. They're good for the oven. You want anything that you can roast in, but what you're roasting in needs to be something that brings the bird up off the bottom. You don't want the bottom of the bird to not get roasted evenly, and that's what this provides. So if you can, just get you a pan rack and fit it into whichever pan is going to work for you. And if you're doing a lot of birds, nothing quite like a big roasting pan that's designed for that. When I say a large roasting pan, I'm talking about something like this. You would put a turkey in, or a couple of large chickens. You can also do several of those Cornish hens in the same kind of pan. All right, this has come to a boil, and it's time to reduce the heat. This is a boil now, so I'm reducing my burner temperature to medium low. I need to keep a good solid boil like this going, but it doesn't have to be so brisk. So you see good steam coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, our alcohol's coming out. I smelled it just as this was beginning. It was distinct, and that's how you know you're cooking it out. It's time for us to go ahead and get our bird into the oven. Folks, we have our beautifully trussed bird ready to go. There we go. That bird is down in the oven now. It's just a matter of time. Time until, well, my wonderful glaze has reduced. Time until the bird is cooked. And in that amount of time, which is, ladies and gentlemen, going to be about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes roughly. In that amount of time, it gives you plenty of time for your side dishes. If you want to do some wonderful vegetables to go with this, please do. There's a lot of choices. I'm thinking maybe some mashed potatoes. Not sure about the other one. We'll see. So think about what you would like, and let's get busy cooking this up. In the meantime, I'm going to relax for a bit and let that cook. 350 degrees. We're going to be cooking this till we have an internal temperature of 175 degrees. You hear a lot of people say it has to be 180 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, when you pull it out of the oven, the core temperature is still going to be going up some. It'll be going up for about 5 to 10 minutes. You will need a cooking thermometer. Cooking thermometer is very, very important. Make sure you use this. It keeps you from basically overcooking your bird, to be sure. Instead, you get a juicy bird that's cooked just right. Folks, this glaze has been on here for about 40 minutes now, and it has cooked down nicely, but it's not quite there yet. I need this to be more of a syrup. We're going to have about 3/4 of a cup in the bottom of that pan when this is ready. I've also decided what I wanted to use in the way of my vegetables. Right back here, I have some poblano strips and some potatoes that are soaking in water. In a little bit, I'm going to fire up those potatoes, boil them, and then I'm going to run them through my food mill for a beautiful mash. If you'd like that recipe, that's on my channel under mashed potatoes. Now we have a very serious reduction. We're at the 50-minute point. Look at this. Now we have much more of a sugar concentrate going on here, and it's beautiful. So what I'm going to do, I want to reduce my heat just a little bit. I want to finish cooking off the last bit of the water on that, and I have a gorgeous glaze, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. Look how it coats that spoon. Isn't that beautiful? That's exactly what we're looking for. A gorgeous, thick, tasty glaze. Now I'm going to let this cool just a little bit before I taste it, but I believe this is spot on, and the reason I think that is because I made this yesterday when I was inventing this recipe, and I know how good it is. Very, very good. Okay, as you can notice, there's not a lot of steam coming off of this now. That kicked it up a little bit, but we're mostly down to just the sugars that we had, and the flavor involved, as well as all of that citric acid that's in there. I'm turning off my heat on this, and I'm going to let this stand for just a moment, and then I'll cover it. Occasionally stir it. You don't want it skinning over or anything like that. So that's all there is to making this beautiful glaze. Now look at that. Look how much it cooked down from the original high that was in that pan. What it has become now, like I said, about 3/4 of a cup there. I might be able to squeeze a little more out on this one, but that's it. Alrighty, occasionally you have to pull things out and check for doneness. Now I don't believe this is done yet, but I'm going to go ahead and take a reading on it, and I want a core reading right about here. Okay, nope, this is not where I need it. I'm reading 161.2 degrees. Actually, as I plunge it a little deeper, it goes to 159. Okay, folks, so the core on that chicken has a little bit more cooking to do. Back down in the oven, and then we'll glaze it in a little bit. I want that temperature about 170, and then I'm going to glaze it. Okay, I have just now increased the temperature in my oven, and as I'm doing that, I increased it to 375. I've taken my hen out real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and baste this thing up. So I have this gorgeous red glaze that I've made. Let me get that stirred. Look at that. I'm going to go ahead. This is the reason I named this Texas Red Hen, is because, well, hey, it's invented in Texas, folks. I get to name it the way I want to. And the second thing is, it is really following in good Texas food. Our grapefruit really is outstanding. And if you've ever tried it, you know. And if you haven't, when you try it, you'll find out. You'll see exactly what I mean. I'm going to turn this pan around. Be careful. Quite hot. I want to get the full coating all the way around. I need to get this side. A little of it's going to hit your pan. It may even burn just a little. Don't worry about that, guys. Won't hurt a thing. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous glaze. This goes down in the oven again at 375. In 5 minutes, I'm going to pull it out, reglaze it, put it back in there for another 5 minutes. Here we go. All right, it has been 5 minutes of setting that first coat of glaze. Let's give it its second coat, and we'll finish it up. Oh yeah, isn't that beautiful? Okay, we're checking it. Oh yes, look at that. Oh, so perfect. Beautiful and exciting. That is our Texas Red chicken. For the quantities of what we were cooking with today, the glaze that you saw me made, that is enough for 2 to 3 of these birds. 3 of the small ones, 2 of the larger ones. You may have just a little glaze left over, but for the most part, you'll get about that much. If you're going to be cooking more birds, just double your glaze recipe or triple it. It's a very simple recipe. We have 1 quart of ruby red grapefruit juice. And that is the Texas ruby red grapefruit. You'll find it to be a bit sweeter. When you taste it, you'll see it's very unique. Here we're going to be using a little bit of salt, and that's just enough to cover our bird as we normally would salt it for cooking. The olive oil for the same thing, coating the bird. I'm using 1/4 of a cup of cane sugar, 1/4 of a cup of Cointreau. This is a French liqueur that's orange. And also you're going to need a little bit of string for each bird, about 2 feet of string for each bird, and a cooking thermometer to make this right. Ladies and gentlemen, there's your recipe for a fantastic Texas Red Hen. Now let's take a look at that gorgeous bird. Now folks, we have him out of the oven. You remember the first leg, this one here, that we attached our first string to. All I have to do is slip my knife underneath that string, carefully though, I don't want to mess up my chicken, and cut that. Now I can then take that same string, it will pull right up. See how it comes free from that? It'll open itself up right here, and now I can simply pull it out from underneath my bird. And there we go. My bird is still in the same beautiful position. It's gorgeous looking and it's ready to plate up. Well, that bird came out of the oven beautiful, and now I just need to get everything plated up and do it in such a way that it looks handsome, delicious, and exciting. Now, the first thing I want is a nice heaping amount of mash right here. And I'm going to taper it down this way, and I have a reason for this. Next thing I decided to do with mine was put some poblano strips with it. So that's what I have here. These are pan-seared poblanos. So there I have all of that going for me. Next, let's go ahead and get my bird right up on here. And I'm going to put it with the legs right over the poblanos and the top of the bird perched right up on that mash. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. A beautiful little bird served Texas style. Such perfect mashed potatoes. That's another recipe. You'll find that extra fluffy mashed potatoes recipe on my channel. This one, I've been enjoying. Folks, let me tell you, this bird is flat delicious. So much flavor. It just explodes. And you know, the thing of it is, even if you don't like grapefruit, you're going to like this recipe. It is rich and inviting, full-bodied, and it's probably one of the best ways I've come up with to do a small bird in a long time. Very good recipe. Please enjoy it. Thank you for watching. To my subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate my loyal viewers very much. Guys, you are the mainstay. I keep doing this, and thank you for your help. Your views help. Every view helps me to get a little further in life. If you would, please subscribe if you haven't done so. Click that like button if you enjoyed this. The comment section, folks, that's there for a reason, and I do respond to it. I read those comments, and if you have a comment, a suggestion, a request, I'm reading it, okay? Thank you for putting it in there. Please take a look at Patreon. Oh, here we go. Patreon, that is my new page. It is a way that I am working on to further what I do here on YouTube. So take a look at that, and if you feel like helping out, it will be appreciated. Thank you very much, and folks, you have a good day. Oh, yes.